Do you know who the happiest people are? The happiest people are the people with the most intact relationships. In 2016, I answered God's call to start a ministry that would reach youth with the truth about God's plan for sex and marriage. My name is Enza Cerami, and my passion is sharing God's plan for love and life-giving relationships with teens, young adults, and parents. Join me at happiestpeople.org to find out more information.
Hello everyone, my name is Eniola Honsberger and I am the Director of the Office of Family Life here in the Diocese of Paterson. I am so honored to have the opportunity to speak with you all on a topic that is very close to my heart, which is infertility. So many couples, and the number is just growing with those suffering from infertility, myself and my husband included. And I wanted to use this opportunity to share my witness with dealing with infertility, but also some insights, 3 insights specifically that I've gained along the way that I'm hoping can be a blessing to those of you if you're personally struggling, or if you know someone who is struggling. Hopefully there you can find some beauty and some support in this. So I'll start in the beginning. My husband, let me start in the very, very beginning, which is in the book of Genesis. We hear, one of the first commandments God gives Adam and Eve is to be fruitful and to multiply. And so as a married person, especially as a Catholic married person, that is a commandment that we, want to live out. We look forward to living out. And so and that's part of our Catholic identity, is being open to that commandment. And so when my husband and I first met in college, I was a basketball player, he was a volleyball player. We fell in love pretty quickly. My senior year, he proposed. A year after I graduated, we got married. So that was in 2009. And really just pillars of health, right? No, we never had any issues. My cycle was always pretty normal. This is infertility talk, so you're going to hear about cycles. So everything just seemed normal. We got married and it was our plan to start having kids. Maybe after a couple of months of just living married life, but it was our goal to start having a family pretty soon. And once we started trying, we were having difficulties and it just wasn't happening. So year after year, we weren't conceiving. And so then we started going to different doctors, and we were always Creighton practitioners when it came to natural family planning. So luckily we were able to find a Creighton doctor to help support us on our journey of trying to conceive. That went from, there were many doctors to help us during this process, and surgeries and blood tests and shots and so many different things. And it just wasn't happening year after year. And so one thing that I really would love to drive home to those who are struggling with infertility is to not wait to start family life until you have children. I feel like a lot of people can get can have that misconception that a family, you know, obviously you're married, husband and wife, but really your family starts and begins when you have those kids. And that is a temptation that luckily I did not fall into, but I know a lot of people could. And your family started when you said yes on that altar to your spouse. That's when your family began. And so I just want to encourage those who believe or think that they're missing out on family life because they're struggling with infertility. You're not missing out. You and your spouse are a family, and you should not think any less of what your family looks like at this moment. Take the pictures, the Christmas pictures, you know, the cute Christmas pictures that people send and they have their kids on them. If it's just you and your spouse, you are a family. You get to send those Christmas pictures. You get to express the joy and the love that is happening within your home, just the two of you. So that's one insight that I had. Your family started the day you said yes on the altar, and don't think any less of that because kids are not in the picture yet. The second insight I have is to be intentional with your time, but also see this time of no children as an opportunity to work on you and your marriage, an opportunity to strengthen your marriage. My husband and I had 10 years to work on ourselves and work on our marriage, and that is key to whatever God has in plan, whether that's children or not. My husband and I found that we need to make the best of this time that God has given us, to be just the two of us, to grow not only in our love for each other, but in our love for God, in our knowledge of one another, but in our knowledge of God and who He is. We always told ourselves, you know what, we might not have kids now, but hopefully we do in the future, and let's start working and becoming the best versions of ourselves now, so by the time the kids come, we can just give them all of us, all of who we are. And so we were very intentional about this time. This is a little side note, but 20% of marriages end in divorce within the first 10 years. And so being intentional and prioritizing your marriage during this time of infertility is also an opportunity for growth, right? So, right, you might not be being fruitful in the, you know, in that sense, right, bringing forth child, but your marriage is still an opportunity to be fruitful. So during our 10 years of infertility, Brian and I both quit our secular jobs and started working for the church. I'm not telling anyone to do that, but that's what God was calling us to. We used this opportunity to go on mission trips, right? So we were closely affiliated with Corazon Puro, which is a group that speaks all around the world to young people about their dignity, about theology of the body. And so I was able to travel to Honduras. My husband was able to travel to Nicaragua to share our experience of God's love and God's plan for us. When it came to all my friends, right? So I'm one of the first ones out of all my friends to have gotten married. As I said, I got married a year out of graduating college. And all my friends who got married after me were starting to have babies. And so this really has nothing, I totally give this all the credit to God. I found myself just wanting to be there for my friends, right? There was never a jealous or malicious bone in my body. I genuinely was so happy for my friends that I wanted to make them meals or put together their baby showers. That was something that I did from the just the desire of my heart to support them and the beauty of bringing life into the world. So that's a way that, we can be fruitful, just supporting other families who are having babies, being there for them. As I said, my husband and I both started working for the church, and so really diving deep into that work and being there for the different missions that were going on in the church, being there for being there late if we needed to be there late, getting there early, giving more of our time, knowing that other coworkers did have children and so they needed to get home. So Brian and I, because our family is together working in the same space, we could actually be together as a family and stay late and really give the church all of what we had. So in whatever way being fruitful to you, and in whatever way you can be fruitful, do it. Use this as an opportunity to give God all of yourself with your spouse. Whether if that means creating your own ministry, to do that, or getting involved in a ministry that already exists. This is not wasted time. And it's so important to not be in a place of waiting until it happens, because then we just wait our lives away, right? God has us in this place of infertility now for a reason, and let's capitalize on that reason and let's give ourselves to Him completely in whatever way that He's calling us. Don't wait to use your fruitfulness. You are being fruitful just by giving of yourself and bearing forth new life. And that can come in more ways than just childbirth. And then the third insight, and this actually came to me when I was in seminary studying my master's in theology, but I had a professor say, it was a healthcare ethics class, but he said, we participate in God's plan in redemption in two ways, through procreation and desolation. And that brought me so much peace in that moment, and still that brought me so much peace throughout my years of infertility, because it made me realize that although I'm not participating in God's plan, which if we go back to the beginning, right, in Genesis, that's the first commandment, if we're not participating in that way, we still are participants in His plan. And that is offering up our suffering for the redemption of the world, as Christ did. We are not participating in this moment in procreation and adding to the world, but we are adding to the world through our suffering, through our desolation. We are redeeming the world. That was the moment that I realized that we, as infertile women, infertile couples, we are participating just as much, and our witness to infertility is so important and so beautiful. And that's when I told myself, don't mourn in this moment, right? Because one, we don't know if this is just a moment or if this is a lifelong calling. But don't mourn in this. Use this as an opportunity to redeem the world with me. And so that really blew my mind, and that really was what I need to hear to just turn my whole mind shift into, I am participating. My suffering of infertility is a participation in the redemption of the world, which the world so desperately needs. So I mentioned that I struggled with infertility for 10 years. My husband and I are going on 12 plus years of marriage, which I might be doing the math wrong. 13 years of marriage. Today, I'm recording this. I didn't even plan this, but we are celebrating our firstborn, our son. His third birthday is today. Wow, that's amazing. I didn't even plan this. God, you're so good. So how that came about, we were seeing different doctors, finally found out that I have an ovulatory defect, even though that was the issue all along, and we had been doing the same stuff, but God found that this moment was the time. So in 2018, October 12, 2018, we welcomed Eniola, which is Nigerian, and that means the mercy of God, into the world. Eniola is now 3 years old today, and he is just absolutely fantastic, absolutely beautiful. And he's the one who reminds us every day before a meal that we forgot to pray. That's Eniola. May 9th, 2020, we welcomed Aaron Oladimeji. Oladimeji is Nigerian for second blessing into the world. So we now have a 3-year-old and a 17-month-old. So what I'm trying to say here is that God had us in fertility for a moment. And he wanted something else for us. And so he now has called us to parenthood. And I'm so grateful, honestly, I'm so grateful to have experienced both. Because I now know what it means to participate in God's plan for redemption through procreation and through desolation. And I have a voice. I can speak to those who struggle because I get you. I understand. It was 9+ years of that. Prayers and tears. But there was also so much beauty in it. I can say that now, but I can also say it when I was in it. I recognized the beauty when I was in it as well. And now being a parent, I see that struggle too, right? We always think it's greener on the other side, but it is also hard on this end too. So really there are challenges in both, but there's beauty in both too. And so I speak to the couples, the single person, whoever is watching this, to know that who God has called you to be in this moment is good. It's good and it's not bad. And this is a moment. And how are we going to use these moments to glorify his kingdom, to grow in our relationships with our spouse, with others around us, to build up our community, to build up our family life. So I thank you for the opportunity to share my few insights, my nuggets that I've learned along the way. And please know that if you are struggling with infertility, I pray for you because I understand that pain so much. I pray for you. I pray for your family and your possible future family if that's what God is calling you to. But know that where you are now is also good and beautiful. Thank you.